Good evening and welcome to 30 Minute Reviews. I am Adam. This would have gone up earlier, but yesterday was Easter, so I didn't have the time I was hoping for to record this yesterday. So we're going to talk about it today. And what we're here to talk about is a older movie that was, you know, I think a turning point for the franchise because this is a movie that got stuck in development hell, as I understand it from what I've read, based on the Wikipedia page and the amount of directors that were involved. This is another third movie in a franchise that what's it called? That ended up in a you know that ended up with Fincher almost directing it, like because I think Alien 3 didn't Fincher direct Alien 3. Either way, the point is we are watching. We watched Mission Impossible 3 now, and Mission Impossible 3, I would say, is the most disappointing of the three that I've watched so far, and I will say there is one specific person in it that I think is the reason why I'm so disappointed, and that is Philip Seymour Hoffman. I love him as an actor. It's a tragedy that he passed when he did, but I love him as an actor. And for this movie to have him as an actor, and just completely waste him as a villain, because he's a great villain in this movie. Um, it just leaves me in a place wanting more and being just like, oh, we're not going to have this. And I think there's a reason why when we watch the trailer for the new one, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, I think that there's a reason why they aren't acknowledging 2 and 3 as much. Like, this is meant to be a franchise, summation, like, them kind of trying to be like, we're going to send off Tom Cruise into the past year with this, and I get that. I think that's a worthwhile endeavor. I just feel like there's a reason why they're ignoring these two. They're going right from one, which has the iconic scene of him going in through the ceiling with the knife and all of that, and then they skip 2, and they skip 3, and then they go right to Ghost Protocol. And when I watch this, it's just kind of nonsensical, this plot. Like, let's be real. What are they going after? What does he want? No one really knows. Like, I watched this movie 2 days ago at this point, and there is so much that I'm just unclear about, and it's just not good. And then he's married. Why? Okay, that's a weird decision on a few levels, especially for someone who is in this line of work. And I think to an extent that I don't know if that's this movie's fault or as much as it is the franchise's fault. Clearly, they want this to be James Bond, but they don't really want to define what it is that IMF actually does, which is kind of what part of the problem is. Like the whole marriage thing. Let's address that, because for me that's kind of one of the things that I really bumped into with this movie. It is confusing that he would want to get married and be willing to put someone through that. And I think that part of that is, again, we're at this point. Maybe they more clearly define it in one of the later movies, because again, at this point, I've only seen 1, 2, 3, and then Fallout and Dead Reckoning. So maybe they define that a little bit better later on, but it feels weird that they don't. And then the whole thing with the, like, okay, we're gonna start with the scene, like with him with his wife tied up, and Philip Seymour Hoffman going to kill her, and then we get to the whole movie to get up to that point, and then he doesn't. Like, it's weird that he does it, and then it's like, oh, but it wasn't really his wife, it was this other person. This whole thing is like, the whole thing is just complete and utter nonsense almost the entire way through this movie, which I think kind of is what I bump into so much about this. I think that there is very little in this movie that's redeeming. There's no action set piece that I walk away from going, this is the thing in this movie that is the memorable and important thing. I don't walk away from this movie being like, this is the moment. Like, the romance aspect of it isn't good. Like, it feels almost like it is removed from the rest of the universe. And if this is another, like, how every few weeks or every year or so there's a new action movie with Jason Statham, and it's someone made the joke, it's like, you come up with these ridiculous names, and I never know what they're about. But if you just called it Jason Statham action movie number 48 or whatever number we're up to now, like I'd be instantly more willing to jump in and go see this movie because I know what it is. It's a Jason Statham action movie. And therein kind of lies my problem with this, where it's like, okay, so where are we? Like, what's going on here that is so different from the rest of Mission Impossible that this feels so different? Like, because it feels like we're just using the same characters, but, or the same actors playing kind of the same but slightly different roles. Especially as you get later on in the series, but granted, that's probably just character development, and we'll see that as it goes on later on. Um, I did not enjoy this movie. This is probably of the five I've watched so far, this is my least favorite. And I think that that's and again, it's a shame because Philip Seymour Hoffman is a fantastic talent as an actor, was a fantastic talent as an actor, and for him to end up and to be one of the more forgettable villains, like I'm I would say I'm probably more likely to remember Dougray Scott than I am going to remember Philip Seymour Hoffman, which is a shame because he does fantastic work, and yet he's not the one that I'm going to walk away from this movie being like, and this franchise being like, oh yeah, he was here too, and he did great, and I think that's really a shame for this, for this series. Um, but I think that's as good a place as any to wrap up for today, even though it's going to be a reasonably short episode. But at the same time, it's like this is not a movie that I hated because it was, or bad enough where it's like it's enjoyable bad, like say Madam Web or something like that. It's just kind of bad because it's boring. And if you're making an action movie that's boring, you fundamentally failed at what you're trying to do. And I think this is the movie for me that I feel like we really should have seen the 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 seams in J.J. Abrams' style. Because at the end of the day, this is a fundamentally J.J. Abrams movie. It's a mystery box. And they don't have a good answer for what's in the mystery box. Which, again, same thing with Lost. Same thing with, with Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness. Same thing with Star Wars. It's like, oh, well, we'll do this, and then we will figure out along the way what this is going to end up being. But they never end up finding out what it's going to be in any meaningful way, so what does it matter? And I think that is kind of the fundamental issue here, too. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be later this week. We're going to be doing another episode where we talk about. We actually have two this week. We're going to be talking about The Accountant later this week because I've never seen The Accountant, and I'm seeing The Accountant 2 on Friday, so I figured I should probably see that. And then the other movie we're going to talk about is we're going tomorrow to be going to see the showcase. There's a showcase that they're doing at AMC. It might be at other chains too, but it's tied into CinemaCon, where they're going to show coming attractions for the movies that they showcase at CinemaCon, and a highlight thing. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. But we'll see, what else we have going on. But we'll wrap up there for today, and until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.